Hi, if you're working on starting an equipment rental business and need to create a set of financial projections for raising a potential investment or maybe for a lender, then we have a template here built exactly for you. My name's Adam Huxama, and I'm the co-founder of ProjectionHub. We help entrepreneurs create financial projections for investors, lenders, and just internal planning. So if you are trying to figure out what should my startup costs be, what are my common operating expenses, how much revenue can I generate, and ultimately how much profit can I generate in an equipment rental business, then I want to walk you through this template and show you how you can figure those questions out. So there is a link to this template in the description of the video below if you don't have it, but I'm going to go ahead and walk us through here. So the first thing I wanted to show you is really starting here at the end. This is our at a glance tab with our profit and loss, 5-year profit and loss at a glance, a number of kind of per equipment unit data, some KPIs here that you can see, and then also a number of graphs, tables, and charts, some key ratios, cash generated from operating activities and break even, that sort of thing. In addition to that, you also see that we have a 5-year cash flow statement, 5-year income statement, 5-year balance sheet, and then the same financial statements, income statement, cash flow, and balance sheet for 5 years, but broken down by month. And so that's really kind of the end result, what you're going to get at the end of that process. But we have a little bit of work to do to get there. So let me show you the input sections. So every cell that's highlighted in blue is an assumption that you can easily change. So I've put in an assumption for a personal investment of $100,000 into Adam's equipment rental business. You might have outside investors. You can add those in these lines here. And then we have some fixed assets. These are assets that are not available for rent. So this isn't the equipment assets that you'd rent out. These are maybe a warehouse where you would hold the equipment, and maybe a truck that the business has that you have. And now down here is where we enter in the equipment that is actually available to be rented. And so I have a number of units of equipment here that I've entered in. A dump truck, a box truck, a generator, scissor lift, dumpsters, and heavy construction equipment. And here we can see that we can enter in the number of units that we have that we're purchasing here or leasing to make available for rent. And so then you can also have, in this drop down, you can either purchase these items or lease them. And so I've kind of have a mix of both. Some of the trucks I'm going to lease, the generators and the dumpsters, these are smaller price items. I'm going to purchase them with cash, is kind of the idea here. And then we can put in the purchase price here. And so what I did is I put in the purchase price of all the units purchased in this line. So since we have 5 units, this is not to say that it's $40,000 per unit. We're saying that the total cost of these 5 units is $40,000. So that's what you'd want to enter in there. And we've got a salvage cost. We think that these will be worth something at the end of their useful life. They'll still be worth something. But there'll be some depreciation. And then here we're saying what month did we purchase or lease the items. And so we're saying that's all happening in month 1 of our projections. And then here we have the ability to add a loan. So I am assuming up here, I'm taking, the equation is taking the purchase price of the items, and I have times 0.9%. So in other words, I am financing 90% of the cost of the equipment. And you can change that. You could finance 70% or whatever you end up being able to get in terms of financing terms. You can enter that in there. So if you were going to finance only 70%, you'd want to put in times 0.7. And then you have the ability to enter in an interest rate and a number of months for the repayment of that loan. So that's the process for the purchase items. But if you're leasing items, you also want to put in what month you're going to start the lease, how many months the lease is, and then what is the monthly payment amount for all the items. Again, this is all the items on this line. So if you only had one dump truck, you just put in the cost for leasing one dump truck. We, in this situation, have 3 dump trucks, and we're saying that the price to lease them for us, our price to lease them for 3 dump trucks is $8,500 a month for 3 of them. So now let's go to the input revenue tab. And so what this is going to do is pipe in the data that you just put in on the previous tab. And then we're going to say, okay, what month can we start renting this out? And so in this row or this column, we'll put in, we're going to say, hey, we're going to start right away. We're going to start leasing them or renting them out to customers right away in month 1. And we're saying that all the units that we purchased or leased are available for rent. And then here we're going to put in the average rent per unit per month. So if one of our customers, what we're saying here is if one of our customers wanted to rent our dump truck for the entire month, we would charge them $6,000. And you can see so on for each unit here, the pricing. And then here we have a utilization rate. So we're saying, okay, yeah, $6,000 per truck for the whole month, but we only have 35% utilization rate. So it's not actually fully leased out all the time. Maybe the scissor lift, it's more popular, and it has a 50% utilization rate. So we can enter in those rates there. And then what this line is going to do is it's going to take that 6,000 times the number of units times the utilization rate to come up with a monthly revenue per line item. So what I'm going to do is just adjust some of these utilization rates because we need to be able to have these rented out more than 35% of the time. So let's just say these are actually rented 80% for the dump trucks, 75% for the box trucks, maybe our generators 50% of the time, scissor lift 75%, dumpster 65%, and our heavy construction equipment 75%. Okay, so that will then calculate your monthly revenue per equipment line item. Now we need to put in our repair and maintenance cost per month for each line item. So we're saying what I've done here is I've really assumed a percentage of revenue. So up here we have 0.08 times the revenue. So I'm saying 8% of revenue should go to repair and maintenance cost per month. And these are estimates, and this is going to be different based on your specific equipment, how old it is, how new it is, how how rough your customers are on your equipment and that sort of thing. We also have an insurance cost that I'm assuming at 10%, 0.1 per month of revenue. So 10% of revenue is going to be going towards insurance costs. And then we'll have other costs at 3% of revenue, another other cost. And you can type in what you want these costs to be. So let's just say this was, cleaning. You could overwrite these categories here and put in your own expenses. And so then you're going to have your total cost per month per line item here. Once you're done with that, we're going to jump over to our Input Other Expenses tab, where you can input expenses like your accounting, your general insurance, internet, rent. So if you're renting a facility, your truck repairs, utilities, payment processing fees, fuel, and you can put these things in as a percentage of revenue or a fixed dollar amount here, or a per property cost. So that would be like a per, so maybe for your dump trucks, for example, that would count as one type of property. And so if you had specific expenses that were associated with just one type of property, you could put that in here. And then we can jump over to our input salaries and owner draw tab, and we have a general manager, repair technician, sales and marketing rep, an office manager, and maybe a driver, a delivery driver, dropping off equipment, picking it up, that sort of thing. And you can pick their salary, put a month that position is going to start and end, if it's going to end before the 60 months of the projection, and then how many of that particular type of employee you have on staff. Once you do all that, you're going to come over to our at a glance tab and see what your profitability looks like based on those assumptions. And so, you're going to want to play around with your numbers, try different pieces of equipment, different utilization rates. You're going to get to see what it takes for you to be able to break even. And that's the point of this tool, is really for you to do some planning, and also ultimately to be able to, make a presentation to a lender, potential lender or investor as well, once you have a plan in place. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section of the video below, or reach out to us at support@projectionhub.com, and we'd be happy to help.